Continuing with question 4, our next vocabulary word is constant. A constant means that it does not change. So the constants are any real number in the equation that has no variable attached to it. So if it has a variable, it's a coefficient. If it does not have a variable, then it is a constant. So we've talked about the basic parts of an equation or an expression. We talked about variables, coefficients, and constants. Number 5 is term. Terms are like math words, but instead of separated by spaces, they're separated by the plus or the minus or the equal sign. So each product, that means the coefficient and the variable, because product means multiply. Each product or group of coefficients and variables is called a separate term in the equation. They are separated by pluses and minuses in the equation, or they might be separated by the equal sign. So they're separated by pluses and minuses or the equal sign. We are now going to use all of these vocabulary words to list the terms, variables, coefficients, and constants in this example. We're going to do this first example together, and then you are going to try the second one on your own. First, it tells us to separate our terms. And remember, the terms are separated by pluses and minuses. So I'm just going to draw like a slash line in front of all my pluses and minuses to separate out my terms. So it makes it easier to see each one. So in this example, my terms, my first term is 2k. And I'm going to put a comma there for my list. My second term is positive 15. You do not have to put the plus, even though the 15 owns that plus. With positive numbers, you do not have to put a plus in front of them every time. My next term is negative m. We do need the negative there. So you don't have to have the positive, because as we know, if there's nothing in front of it, it is positive. But we do need the negative signs. Our next term is negative 3. And then n. And then negative 7p. So those are the terms, those are the groups in this equation. Next, it asks us to find the variables. And if you forgot what a variable was, you can look back. The variables are the letters that represent the numbers that we do not know yet. So our variables are the letters. I have a K, I have an M, and we don't need the negative now because technically the -1 is the coefficient, not the variable. I have an N and I have a P. So those are my variables, K, M, N, and P. Coefficients, if I look back, the coefficient is the number that is multiplied by the variable. So it's the number that is in front of the variable to multiply it. Or remember, sometimes we have to put that hidden 1 in. So our first variable is K, which means 2 times K, so the coefficient is 2. $15 does not have a coefficient because it doesn't have a variable, so 15 is not a coefficient. My next variable is M, and if I look back at this example, I can see that it's just exactly like this one. So it's negative M, which means negative 1 times M. So my next coefficient is negative 1. Negative 3 does not have a variable. Positive N, once again, there's a 1 hidden there. So that's 1 times N. So N's coefficient is 1. And my last coefficient is negative 7, because that's negative 7 times P. So my last coefficient is negative 7. The last part of this example is constants. So I look back and I see the constants are the numbers with no variables. So my constants are just my plain old numbers. That would be the 15, and that would be the negative 3. Now we're going to fill in one more vocabulary word, and you're going to try this example, and you're going to try example A and B at the bottom. Number 6, the vocabulary word is expression. An expression is a group of terms that does not have an equal sign. So it's exactly the same thing we did up here with these equations that had an equal sign. It just isn't an equation because it doesn't have the equal sign. So do the same thing that we did here. List the terms. The only difference is it says how many terms are there. So list the coefficients, list the terms, list the constants, and list the variables.